What is your last name?
Lewis.
No.
My first and last name are both Lewis, spelled the same.
You're a
I
liar.
swear to God, it was a rough life in the Army with that one.
No.
Swear to God. Louis Emilio Lewis Jr. There's 2 of us. There's 3 now. My son is Louis Emilio Lewis III.
Oh my God.
If I had to suffer, someone else is suffering.
I
with it
can't
too.
wait to do this. Episode 18, Lewis, a.k.a. Shaved Kitty. That's ridiculous. What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the Bearded Garagistas. I'm always with my brother Brett. And today we have Lewis with us, a.k.a. Shaved Kitty. You probably know who he is, heard
also
about him.
known as Lewis.
Also known as Lewis. You've seen him on Instagram, almost wrecking a Hellcat.
More than once.
That scared me a little bit. But yeah, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, sir.
Happy to
Thank
have
you
you.
for having me.
So I know Lewis from the track. I also know him through his business, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, known him for a long time. Seen him before he had the Hellcat.
Yeah.
You had the Infinity when I knew you.
Yeah.
And you built that. And then
I still have it, actually. It's sitting on a trailer going back to stock so I can turn it in.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So he had that, and now he's got the Hellcat. I've seen him run the Hellcat all the time, races IRRA and all that good stuff. So let's roll back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start from the beginning, as we always do with our first sit down with a new person. A new guest. We always do introductions first, and then like further episodes, second, third, fourth, however many we do in the future. We usually go in depth a little bit more. So in this first episode, we're going to go back, and in the next episode we have with you, we won't have to do that again.
They'll know already.
They already know. So how long you been into cars?
I've been into cars since I was a kid, before I could drive.
Yeah.
So my dad was a repo man growing up.
That'll do it.
So I used to get to steal the repo car. There was Mercedes and Mitsubishi.
Damn.
So I was always driving AMGs and the turbo Eclipses were my favorite back then. Like,
all right.
What was it? Like 92, 93, 94. So
Nice.
I'd get to drive them. I
Rich
learned
is
how to
already
drive
excited.
stick. And in those Eclipses that were, I mean, technically the banks, because the people couldn't pay for them.
Right.
And that's when I fell in love with cars. My dad collected cars, so it's been since day one. Every kid wants a Lamborghini.
That's crazy. That's cool.
Is that your favorite Lamborghini?
It really, now that I've become into the performance, I'd choose a McLaren
Really?
over a Lamborghini. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Why?
But Lamborghinis aren't fast.
That's true. Well, underground racing would beg to differ.
Well, if you start throwing a $50,000 turbo kit on it,
Yeah.
you can go buy a 720S right now, downpipes and tune, and you're running 8s.
Yeah. I don't know if I've also seen McLarens running, and I don't think they're that fast either. I think it's really weird to say that all those supercars like the Porsches, McLarens, Lambos, when they're stock, they all seem, when I'm at the racetrack,
Yes.
they all seem like they're on the same par.
I almost think that with those cars, the driver matters more. Because if you get in there and you don't know what you're doing,
Well, you were at TRC.
you screw that up very easy.
You were at TRC.
Well, there's yes and no. So for a driver, a person that plays with cars, like if Jared or you or me got in any of those cars, we would be okay.
Right.
The problem is just because you have a lot of money doesn't make you a good driver.
Right.
That's true.
Which is why my favorite events are, the Excel Motorsports, the private rentals that we get invited to, the Brooks stuff, drag times.
Yeah.
Where I get to race, SVJs and, upgraded turbo Porsches and stuff like that.
The drivers actually know how to drive?
They don't. Well, it's more exciting when they don't
That's
because they
true.
get walked. But even when they do, there's no Huracan running 9s like me and Danny do. I mean, it's more interesting. The viewers like it more when you gap a Lambo versus gapping another Hellcat.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the looks of it.
When anything gaps an exotic car, it's people go nuts. I don't think you didn't go to Street Kings, but we were at Street Kings. They didn't do much racing because they got rained out, which sucks. But when they did race, there was a green. Was it green? I'm colorblind, by the way.
Green.
I'm a colorblind photographer. Figure that out.
Well, colors don't matter. It's got to look good.
But there was a green McLaren, and every time he got on, don't get me wrong, I think it was powerful. But every time he got on it, man, it was just woo all over the place.
Yeah, there's a video on my Instagram with an SVJ. That thing's supposed to run a 10.3. Granted, that's a professional driver, blah, blah, blah. But the guy ran an 11 something. That's just a horrendous
Well, this
driver.
one scared me because when he got loose and he got squirrely, he's slamming the brakes. And I was like, that is
Money doesn't buy driving.
That's not what you do.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, it was a little scary. So the old cars, what was your first car?
My very first car was a Nissan Sentra SER, 2003. It was actually my grandfather's, who we took away because he got old as shit, and they gave it to me, and I thought it was the greatest car.
He had to get the SER model?
That's what it was, I think, 90 at the time when we took it away, and I thought, why did this man have an SER? But I'm glad he did, because it was my first car.
Hell yeah. Did you do anything to it?
No, I was 16, 17. I thought it was already like the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
I remember one time I decided to clean the air filter, and I put it back in, still soaking wet. So
that's fine.
From that point forward, the car would go every time you stepped on the gas, and one of my friends was like, "Yo, it's supercharged, dog. It sounds sick." It was really just broken.
Do you remember my Grand Am, bro? When I hit the curb with it, and then it sounded like a pod racer.
Yeah.
I made a left turn. I made a left turn once, and I made a left turn, and I like went too far, and I wasn't paying attention, and I caught the curb, and it like bounced me back onto the street. And I was like, "Oh, I'm good. Tires good. Rims good. Whatever. We're good to go." But for the rest of the time I owned that car, it was like whoop, 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 whoop.
That's custom. Because no one else sounds like that's what matters.
Hey, it was a modification. What are you gonna do? What was the next one after the Nissan?
So after the Nissan, I got a Civic Si, 06 Civic Si FG2. It was right when they came out. So there was people waiting 6-7 months waiting list to order the car.
Right.
So I went with my dad, and my dad's always been plugged up with like everybody. He's like, I don't know how he does it. Long story short, we paid $1,000 to take someone else's allocation, someone that had ordered their car.
Wow.
So I ended up with Galaxy Gray, which looks like brown.
Yeah.
But it was either that or wait. And my dad had actually offered, he said, "Hey, look, I'll buy you a Volkswagen Beetle Turbo and I'll pay for it if you take it. I'll pay cash." And I said, "No, I don't want, I'd rather make my own payment and drive a Civic Si."
Right. I understand the appeal of the Civic Si, but there's the turbo Beetles, they move.
Yeah, but I was 17 years old, 18 years old. Nobody wants to drive a turbo
something
Beetle.
Funny? I'll tell you something. Where are you from?
Here. I'm born and raised.
So I'm from Long Island. And I'll tell you something
you
funny.
were born here. Don't lie.
You
try and pass it. He tries and passes.
I didn't say born and raised. I said I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
Listen to what I say.
I just like
that's like the people born in Indiana.
I just like to remind him. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I'm born in Miami, but I'm raised in Long Island. You know what the first car Dad tried to sell me on?
What?
Was a Beetle. Like an old 1970s Beetle. And he's like, "Don't worry, bro. We'll slam it to the ground. We'll make it look badass." And I'm like, dude, I'm not driving that.
Back then, now that we're older, that would be a hard car. I would love to have that. But back then, it was the gayest shit ever.
Yeah, there's a young girl I work with who's got one, and it's gorgeous.
Like a 70s Beetle?
Yeah, and it's slammed to the ground. It's got that old style roof rack on top of it.
Nice.
I love it. I'm like, I wish she would start.
I like them with the Steelies and stuff.
Yeah.
The Beetles, they look good. And look, in retrospect, the responsible 30-year-old I am now, I would have definitely taken the turbo bug, and especially knowing now what I know about boost, I could pick up 80, 90 horsepower tuning the thing with a downpipe. But back then, the SI was the hot fire.
Of course.
I lived in Weston with a bunch of super ballers, so driving my Civic Si to school, I was the poor guy, parked next to the M3s and GTRs. So I had to have it.
Fair enough. I'm not upset about it.
No.
Did you build the SI?
Yeah, it was high compression pistons, E85, which was like rare to find back then. This was like 2006, 2007.
Damn, bro.
So I had to literally make special drives to gas stations. I even have to do it now in the Hellcat. But imagine back then.
Yeah, they're definitely more popular now. But
yeah, there's a couple around my house in Boca, but it's still. Sorry, I have to make sure I plan out my gas. Like I went to the Keys one time, and I had to make sure I filled up in Miami before I entered the Keys.
Like an extra tank in the back.
But I intake headers, exhaust, high compression pistons. I think it made low 300s.
It's not bad for back.
No, it was. The FG2 was the first good K20 since the B16.
Yeah,
that EP3 motor was garbage.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's not a bad build though for back then. I mean, even now that's a respectable horsepower for C4 at IRA.
Light car.
Yeah.
In the 300s?
Well, the FG2 wasn't a light car. The thing was 3,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Even for a two-door.
But, I mean, you look at nowadays, everybody's stripping and cutting the crap out of their stuff. So
like Danny's car.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to talk to him about that and see what he's doing. Did you ever, you take that SI to Mexico at all or no?
Yes. So, and back then, Mexico, I mean, it still is Mexican Street Racing League. Was the place to be. On
Yeah.
Every Friday night would have 200-300 cars out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And back then I thought it was like the fastest car ever. I'd be racing Focuses and stuff like that. But there's no way. How did that beat me? And I thought it was the fastest thing ever. But that's how you are with every car. When I got my next car, it was the fastest. It's really who you hang around with too.
That's true. That's definitely true. Your friends definitely gas you up a lot.
Pick your friends carefully.
Well, in my group, my Hellcat is one of the slowest cars.
You need new friends.
Yeah, I need slower
You need
friends.
slower
Yeah,
friends.
hype myself up a little bit. You know?
Exactly.
You need slow friends.
I do. It makes you look bad. I get made fun of all day. I'm like, bro, it's a 9-second car. It's not slow.
No, it's dude. I have a 4-cylinder Toyota Camry. I'll come out. I'll let you run me one time in front of your friends and be like, "Yo, I smoked that dude." Huh?
Make it look real good.
Gapped.
What'd you do after the SI?
So I totaled the SI.
Oh, nice.
And,
How'd you do that?
So I'm actually in recovery. I'll have 7 years next month.
Oh shit!
And
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I was on the way to get pills, and there was another Civic Si, another FG2 actually, and I thought,
you gotta run 'em.
Yeah, of course. I do it in the work van. I'll be in the work truck. If there's a challenge, I accept. So I'm racing this guy, and I come up behind an SUV, and I go to get out of his way, and he decides, no, I got you. I'll get out of your way. So now I'm switching over, and he switches over. So I switch back over, and he's trying to get out of my way while I'm trying to get out of his way. Eventually, I just spin out on 595, roll over. It used to be grass between 84 and 595.
Okay.
Now there's a wall.
Yeah.
So I
There's
bash
a
into the
divider.
fence, roll over, land upside down on 84.
Ooh.
Oh shit!
And then there's cars coming at me all high speed, and luckily they all stop. So I was going to trade a pew pew, not to say any certain things,
trying to get
for
us banned off
drugs.
YouTube.
And exactly. So the paramedic shows up, and he comes over to the ambulance where I'm sitting to be evaluated and stuff. And he goes, "Do you have a permit for this?" And I my heart dropped. I was like, "I'm going to jail for sure."
Oh my god!
And he picks up this little toy gun that I had on my dash, and I was like, he was just making a joke. He found a little toy gun. So long story short,
Where was the other one?
in the trunk.
Oh, so they didn't see that.
They didn't see that at all.
Thank God.
So
You're lucky.
my mom gets there, my stepdad gets there, blah, blah, blah. I get all my stuff out of the car. I immediately stole my mom's car and obviously rushed right to the drug dealer because my car didn't matter at that point.
You didn't even go to the hospital?
No, I didn't go to the hospital. I was addicted to opiates, so I needed them now. It didn't matter.
Oh, Jesus.
how.
Bro. Well, I mean, I guess you were getting the drug
I was getting
anyway.
my own
You
pain
weren't-
medication.
Yeah, you weren't going to feel any pain anyway.
Yeah. You don't want to go into withdrawal on that
Damn,
stuff either.
dude.
I joined the army right after that, so I didn't have a car for years.
Oh, that was your time off.
Yeah, I didn't. And when I went to the army, I didn't have any cars. I lived in the barracks on base, so for the most part, I just I could walk or take the little bus that went around the base.
Where were you stationed?
Fort Meade in Maryland.
Oh,
So 30 minutes outside of Baltimore.
Yeah.
About an hour outside of DC.
usually I mean, taxis over there are pretty big too, but I know
Well, you have homies that are in the unit with you that have cars.
That's I was that homie.
And the people that live on base with their wives or whatever, people with families that get BAH that live there, you're hanging out at their house or you're going to the hotel.
That's how my boy Nicholson and I are. Like, he was always at my crib. Like, there was days where he'd just sleep in my house all day. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
There was no need for a car. Plus, I was an E2, I think, going in. I was making like $14,000 a year. What am I going to buy with that?
You know what I did though? I was an E3 going in, and I had a little money saved, but what I did was I found a sergeant major on post, and I bought a Subaru Impreza from him.
Really?
Yeah, Subis are still expensive, and this was in Hawaii, so it was even more expensive because they got to import everything. Right. And so he was asking for like 6, and I went to I guess he was deployed at the time, and I went to his wife was like handling the transaction. I was like, "Yo, I'll give you $3,000 for it," and she's like, "No, he won't take anything less than 5." And I was like, "All right, I don't have that kind of money." She called me like 3 days later. And she's like, "Yeah, I just spoke with my husband, and he's down to help out a young soldier, so I'll give it to you for 3." And so I got a pretty
Sergeant
decent
Major's
deal.
not like he needs the money.
No,
that $3,000 isn't really making.
That was like a backup car. This guy's probably got a house in the States with like 3 cars parked in the driveway right now.
Sergeant Major's good salary plus all the benefits. Everything's paid for anyway.
That Subi was badass though. I'm not gonna lie. That all-wheel drive, bro. I used to yoke that thing, and then I sold it to Nicholson before I left.
I've never had anything all-wheel drive in my life.
Really?
Never.
It's It's life changing.
Well, I don't think I've driven all-wheel drive either.
It's not in a straight line. It's life changing when you're going around turns. Yeah, it feels so crazy, and especially in Hawaii with the hills and the mountains. You're just like, bro, it's
anytime I take a corner, like in my car, my girl's car, like I'm just waiting for that moment where it's just gonna break loose and slide off.
That's rough.
You own that all-wheel drive in the wrong state, man, because I've seen you go through some skids in New York in the winter.
I spun my car around here on 95.
Yeah, you did.
Snow here?
No, it was raining. It was pouring one night, and I was on the phone with my boy, and I remember he was on speakerphone, and I'm driving, and I went underneath an overpass, came out the other side of the overpass, and I hit the rain on the outs on that, so it went from dry to wet real quick, and the car was just like, and I turned around. I was looking at headlights coming at me. And I was still trying to correct it. So I remember I'm on the line. I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And he's like, I hear him screaming. He's like, what? And I'm like, oh shit, oh shit. It came back around. And when it got back around, I pulled the e-brake a little bit and it kind of like straightened out. And then I pulled over on the side of the road. And literally, I shit you not, it is pouring, like monsooning. I jumped out of the car and I was like, yeah. I didn't
celebration.
Didn't hit a thing. But so how long are you in the Army?
I enlisted for 5. I only did 4.5.
Okay.
It was a combination of one. I married a general's daughter back then for the BAH. She was a 3-star. He was a 3-star general.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah. Well,
you're a psycho.
It ended up saving me.
I understand now. I understand now why you are the way you are. It's just you've always been that way.
Well, it was a money thing. I mean, you know what? At BAH, I get at my rank even was $1,500 a month.
I get the BAH.
I'll marry you for $1,500 a month.
I'm flattered, but I get the BAH. I don't get the marrying a general's daughter. Most people marry somebody like that they went to high school with. They're like, yeah, babe, just stay out there.
Person.
Every time I get a home check, I'll fly you out. They'll see that you're living with me, and then they fly back.
And the free health insurance.
Yeah, but
it was a cute girl, and she was in the military also. So she was a Marine, so she understood the benefits of getting them. So now we have Marines. $750 each, essentially. We both live in barracks, so we don't need that money for housing.
Right.
And so long story short, I did good for a while. I ended up getting back into drugs a little bit. I was doing the spice, which was a big deal back then.
Yeah, I remember. What year were you in?
I got out in end of 2011.
Okay, because when I was going in 2013, that's when
Spice was one being an addict, I was able to locate the secret drugs nobody knows about. But Spice was like blowing up then.
Oh yeah, I was an MP, dude. Like we busted some dude coming onto post in those propane tubs, the big ones, moving coke. The whole thing filled with coke.
Filled with coke?
Yeah.
And he was a soldier?
Yeah. He'd bring it on post. He'd split it up in his barracks room, and then he was selling baggies on post.
There was a couple people selling Xanax and shit. They tried to get me to flip on during my out processing. They're like, look, we'll bump it up to a honorable discharge. I got general under honorable conditions anyway, which is,
that's what you got out for? You got hemmed up with it?
No, so I got hemmed up with I ended up popping positive for actual weed. During a random drug test, blah, blah, blah. And I already had, on my discharge, it says patterns of misconduct. So I was up like.
Yeah.
So they caught me with that, and they restricted me.
I know. This has been going for a long time.
Yeah, this is my whole life. They restricted me to base, and I said, okay. So I paid someone to sleep in my bed during bunk check, and I left the base anyway.
Oh, you're out of your mind.
And then I came back, and they're like, yo, this is crazy. So they either gave me the option of a court martial, which is like court essentially, but there's no jury. It's whatever they decide.
It's pretty much you're getting punished. It just depends on what we're going to give
exactly.
you. Right.
Or UCMJ, which is sort of your captain decides it. In my unit, it was a captain. So the captain ends up he chooses it for me, and he's like, look, I'm going to give you a general under honorable conditions. I was going to kick you out, give you dishonorable due to the constant just ups on your end, missing formations, leaving base without permission, flying home for the weekend, blah, blah, blah. So this is where the general sort of saved me in that aspect.
Ooh,
he got me general under honorable conditions. So I get to keep all the benefits except for the GI Bill, the 1099 GL Bill.
You weren't going to use it anyway.
Which I wasn't going to use anyway. I had already gotten my bonus for enlisting for my MOS.
Yeah.
I deployed, so I still have my medals and stuff like that.
Okay.
But that's it. So that really saved me from getting a dishonorable, which I would have lost everything.
Yeah.
I would have been stripped of the medals. I would have lost all the benefits. But that got me out, and I came back.
To Florida.
Yeah, I came back to Florida, and immediately went back to drugs.
Oh, damn,
immediately.
That's usually what happens though when people get out. They go back to
Well,
where
what are you going to do?
You're stomping ground.
Even people that aren't doing drugs. I mean, a lot of people get out of the military, and what do I do? Unless you go back to that job,
right.
Which I was an electronic engineer, and I wasn't responsible enough to go find that field and stuff like that. I went right back to drugs, and I didn't buy a car. I bought like $100 Mercury Topaz.
Ooh.
Just to get around, which my dad paid for.
Fire.
Just to get, bro, it's a dunk. Big, huge. I had the cassette adapter that you could plug into the iPhone. I was bumping. It was a little wheezy back then, bumping. So long story short, I got addicted to, back on drugs. That lasted like a year or two till I got arrested. I went to court and the judge is like, look, this is your first arrest. I'll release you under your own recognizance. My sister's an attorney. She showed up on the TV because in Broward, it's a TV court for your magistrate hearing. And he goes, I need an address to release him, ROR, under his own recognizance. My sister says, look, he's not welcome to my house, my mom's house, or my dad's house till he gets the help he needs. And the judge goes, Mr. Lewis, is this true? And at this point, I'm sick as shit. I haven't had any drugs in a while. I go, Your Honor, I'll take whatever I can get. He goes, bond revoked until completion of substance NAAA, which is NAAA in jail.
Yeah.
Life skills and SAP, which is the substance abuse program. It's rehab in jail.
Right.
So I ended up spending like 9 months in jail when I should have been released the next day.
Jeez.
Which I don't hold any resentments. I'm clean now, going on 7 years.
Helped you.
Yeah. So now I'm about to have 7 years because of that. So I don't hold any.
So 9 months well worth it.
Yeah, exactly. 9 months in exchange for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's awesome. So when you got out of prison, jail,
yeah.
Jail.
So I got out of jail within like 6 months.
Don't get those confused.
Right,
People who've been in jail or in prison, they get upset when you talk about the
they're
other
very
one.
different. Yeah. Very different.
So when you got out of jail,
it didn't take me long, bro. I'm a people person. I got a job, whatever. And within 6 months, I had enough saved up to put a down payment on the new Hyundai Genesis, which was
that was
bee's knees
Hell
back then.
Yeah.
2012 Genesis Coupe. Everyone back then was still fighting between the 3.8 and the 2.0 turbo.
Yeah.
We learned very quickly the 3.8 was worth nothing.
Yeah.
And there was more potential out of the 2.0. So I had that. I mean, that I've spent more money on that Genesis than I have even my Hellcat now.
Really?
And I probably made 1/3 of the income.
I had a buddy who bought the bigger one, the 3.8, the 3.8, and he was like, he did all this work to it and like slammed it. It was a show car, it wasn't really a race car. But I remember when he was trying to sell it, he could not get rid of that.
Yeah, it's not.
Nobody wanted to buy it.
It's a very pretty car, but at the end of the day, it's still back then. Hyundai was like just sort of building their name as an acceptable car.
Cambered it out. And he did that stupid.
Oh, the stance thing. Jesus Christ.
So that thing wasn't going to go anywhere.
Can't stand that.
It's like getting an exquisite wife and then like taping off her vagina. Oh shit, sorry. Like taping off her vagina so that it can't do anything it's supposed to do anymore. It just doesn't make. It looks good, but you can't drive it anymore. Oh my God. It just doesn't make any sense.
I want to have someone on and just argue their side of why
you can't.
Look, I understand lowered, but for your wheels to do this,
right?
I respect all builds. All right, I'll tell that right now. I respect all builds. If that's what you want to do, you do you, boo boo.
Yeah,
he doesn't, but I do. I will.
Stance.
All right, I will also say. I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. I respect that you did it, like, and you put the work in. I just don't care for it. I want to
hear the why.
We will. We're going
to hear the why.
Hey, if you have a cambered car and you want to come on the show, hit us up. Please send us an email, DM me. Let's get you in here. I want to know why you did that.
Please.
Why you did that?
How many parts? What'd you put in the
Genesis? The Genesis was, full bolt-ons, upgraded turbo. But what I did was I took the stock turbo, had it honed out, and put a bigger wheel in it so that you couldn't, you would look at it and it would look like the stock turbo, but it had this much bigger turbine inside of it. So I would argue with people all the time in Mexico that it was stock. What do you mean it's stock? Look, the Hyundai logo's right on the turbo, blah, blah. That wasn't, unless, in that world, people driving Civics and Hyundais, there wasn't a lot of knowledgeable people on honing out a turbo and putting in a bigger turbine in it. Yeah. So everyone would argue with me. So I'd be racing, Focus STs with full bulk. Like, it doesn't make sense. The power, you shouldn't be able to beat me, blah, blah. But that thing was, full bolt-ons, upgraded turbos. I had nitrous for a little bit. It ended up exploding. I blew the motor on the nitrous. But I made like 380 wheel on the Genesis. But I mean, it wasn't only that. I had an aftermarket fiberglass bumper. The whole car was painted matte white.
You did a lot of work.
There was no wrap. I remember I did neurotag, and I would catch people like trying to find the edge of the wrap, and I put a sign on the window. I said, "It's paint, not a wrap."
Stop scratching.
Stop scratching my shit. This is actually painted.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a system in it, blah blah blah. That's in my girlfriend's car now.
Everybody needed a system.
In fact, I mean, I still need a system, but the Hellcat is the first car I've ever owned that the system is so good, I don't even need the sub.
Really?
So I literally
Wow.
gave her the sub out of my Infinity.
Dude, I had 212s in a Hyundai Sonata.
That's not even enough. More 12s.
Well, all right, take it easy. But nobody even expected that. Like, I'd pull up to a light down here, and like everybody be bumping their stuff.
Oh,
and I
they're
turn my
looking-
stereo
they're
on.
looking for the Caprice.
And then and then it's a Hyundai Sonata.
I'm the
Four
on hubcaps.
sedan. It did have hubcaps.
Yep. Yeah.
You were the one with the rims. I had the hubcaps.
Yep.
That was my first
I
mod
had
in
the
every
V-
car
I
I've
had the
ever had.
V6.
I had shafted,
Oh, yeah,
dude.
the 2.0 Sonata is
Bro,
fast.
whenever
I
he got in,
I got shafted.
whenever he got into my car, like I let him drive it one time.
Hard.
He was just like, "Bro, I'll give you anything if you trade cars with me." Because we both had Hyundai
We had
Sonatas at
both
the same
of the-
time, but I had the V6.
He had the 6
What'd you
and I
have,
had
the
the 4.
2.4?
I had the 4. I
Yeah,
had
but the 2.0
4-cylinder.
turbo 4-cylinder.
It wasn't turbo.
It's
it was
fast
just
now.
a regular base.
It's like
4-cylinder.
336 horsepower.
Well, it's because when I was younger, I was buying my cars, and I would pretty much put in that money. But the way I would do it was, instead of taking a loan, I go to my mother and I'd be like, "Yo,
Yeah,
buy the
interest
car,"
free,
and then
dog.
I would just pay her off.
Yeah.
So she was like, "I'm not laying out that money for the bigger engine. You want a car? You're gonna pay me back. You do this." And I remember that Sonata I paid off.
I don't even remember how I got that car. I really don't. I don't remember how I got it.
But yeah, my mother always trusted him with a bigger engine. 'Cause She knew he wasn't gonna act like an idiot.
Spin out on 95 in a Camry.
Me, I would. No, I was when I spun out on 95.
except she
I
don't
was in
know
the
what I
Grand Am.
actually did with that car.
All
So
right, take it easy. I launched my Grand Am over train tracks one time.
I've jumped them,
Sparks
but it's always with
everywhere.
like my mom's car. or
Yeah,
someone
he's
else's
always done
car.
the crazier stuff.
When I used
I
to
may have
see
done
those
one
little
stupid
like
thing,
your
but-
speed things around the town, those
See how
white
fast you
boxes,
can go?
I would challenge myself. Like, yo, what happens when and this was always in like my mom's Infinity SUV
Yeah.
or something stupid.
Slam the gas.
What happens if I go over 100? There's not 3 spots for numbers. What is it going to do? It flashes 0. I was thinking maybe it would roll
flashes
over,
0.
and at 112 it showed 12.
Oh, that's funny.
It just goes 0, 0. It was no fun.
So after the Genesis, what'd you do?
So the Genesis, I actually spun a bearing. And I spun a bearing, and I hope no car manufacturers or dealers are watching this. So I spun the bearing, and I had the bearing replaced, didn't shave the crank, didn't do anything that you're supposed to do, and then just like the most peasant way possible repaired it. And then I just sort of putted into a GMC and traded it in for a brand new GMC Sierra. That I actually slammed. It was like 8 inches lowered in the rear, 4 inches lowered in the front. No camber. But it was
Just
slammed.
that Florida.
Intake, header, exhaust. No, it was flat.
Oh, level.
It was
That leveled it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was like
that's another
6
thing.
in the front, 8 in the rear. I think is
That's
what it
another
came
thing
to.
I don't understand is the
Slamming trucks.
No,
that
no,
weird.
the trucks with the fronts in the air and then the ass.
I think they just can't afford the lift. I don't think they did it on purpose. I think it became a style when it's like, yo, this looks good, bro.
let it ride.
It was another $2,000. I couldn't afford. So, because you'll notice it's usually on like not the most pricey of trucks.
No,
You
yeah.
don't find a brand new 250 diesel lifted like that.
No.
It's always like the 96 Dodge or something.
Yeah.
So I bought the Sierra. I slammed the
Get
Sierra.
off the goddamn table.
It ain't
You're
me on the
shaking it
table,
like
man.
crazy. You're the
Messing up
only
our
one
mic, dog.
touching it, dude.
They informed me when we started, and I haven't touched it one time. So that I slammed
I need
that
an
thing,
arm rest.
and to be honest, I missed the speed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
it had full bolt-ons E85. I could do not E85, full bolt-ons 93, tune Diablo, blah blah blah, and I could do 130 with it. But it took 40 minutes to get from 100 to
So you
130.
modded everything you had.
Everything I have. So, back when I had the Genesis, I had a bike too. And my dad sort of convinced me, he's like, look, if you get rid of the bike, I'll help you buy a race car. So I sold the bike and I bought a K-swapped EP3, just K24, no nothing done to it,
Right.
full interior, full everything. And then I started building that thing.
Right.
We'll get back to that one because it's still going.
Well, you still have it.
I still have the EP3, yeah.
Right.
There's probably 30 plus grand in a 92 Civic.
I can't wait to see it.
It's still sitting there. I'm going to try to get it in the garage up in Boca instead of in Miami. It's not safe anywhere, a Civic.
No.
No.
You can't park that
Yeah.
anywhere.
They're like sport
Ever.
bikes. You just pick them up.
Yeah,
put
you
them
just
in the
pick it up
back
and
of
move it. So the truck, I just couldn't deal with the speed. I had it for maybe a year, and I traded it in. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Then I got the Q50, the Sport. The Q50 Sport, it had just come out, the twin turbos.
Mhm.
The existing, Q50 mod, the 3.7
Right.
had been out, but I wanted that 3.0 turbo, twin turbo.
Right.
Mm.
I bought that. I left the dealer, and the next day I showed up at my tuner's house, and he cracked it in the driveway. Cracked the PCM in the driveway. Nothing existed yet for that car. So I went and had downpipes made because they didn't exist yet either.
Jesus.
So I had somebody take them off and make them from scratch.
Right.
Tony at TR3, he was their welder.
He's come. I think TR3 might be coming on here.
Good people.
Yeah.
I've known them since they first opened that thing when it was one bay.
Yeah.
One little bay.
I just met him at Street Kings and we exchanged information. So we're probably have.
It's a good
them
shop.
on,
I like
Bearded
TR3. What was I talking about?
The
drugs have really f***ed me up over the time. I don't remember.
No, you went.
Oh yeah, so I traded in for the Infinity,
trade in for the
had it
Infinity.
tuned, blah blah blah. So around this time is when I met Danny, aka Killcat, for anyone who follows him on Instagram. This man,
If you follow Killcat, you probably follow Shave Kitty and vice versa. If you follow Shave Kitty,
if you know who I
Killcat.
am, you know who Danny is. So his name's Danny because I'll refer to him as Danny, not Killcat. I met Danny, and this man had a Maxima, and he saw my Infinity. And he used to hit me up all the time, like, "Yo, you don't want no sauce, my Maxima."
He was talking shit back then.
It was bones. Bro, this man talked shit the second I met him. I hired him for a job where I worked before,
man.
and he was talking shit off rip. He was always telling me he didn't want no sauce. So back in the day, I'll give Danny credit. He's learned a lot about cars in the past couple of years,
Yeah.
but the man knew nothing. He thought this Maxima was the fastest thing in the world. He thought it was going to gap my twin turbo Infinity. So he went ahead and bought himself a still and exhaust, immediately FaceTimed me, recording him revving the engine of his still and exhaust. I was like, bro, what are you doing out here?
That's awesome.
He ended up, I think he got a bunch of Stillen parts. He just went for like the best of the best for his garbage mobile.
Oh my god.
And so I had my Q50, whatever, ended up, full bolt-ons. You can't really do much more than an 85 mix on there just because of the fuel system
Okay.
on the Q50s.
Yeah.
So I ended up peaking around 500 wheel. So Danny gets tired of now he's starting to get into the
Yeah.
car
Now
world.
he's like,
right.
all right, my Maxima ain't
And
nothing.
he realizes real quick that it was a
His
huge
Maxima
piece of
ain't
shit. Huge piece of shit. So he gets his Daytona.
Yeah.
And then he was actually pretty famous before Killcat as Danny Daytona.
Yeah.
I think he had like 20,000. So nothing crazy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I took a bunch of photos of his car.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
bought that big poster for that's. Did he ever hang that thing up?
He's got him in the office.
All right.
Yeah, he's got it. I have pictures of my car and pictures of his car in our
All right.
office.
I'm hoping he did.
And then
Got his ass in a magazine. He better have me hung up.
so he the problem is he went with like a newbie shop, and his nitrous system. He went really crazy. That car had full bolt-ons,
Oh, I remember that
intake
car.
manifold, direct port nitrous.
Yeah.
But his nitrous lines look like those things you used to play with in a doctor's office with the it was just zigzags.
Really?
And he couldn't get enough nitrous pressure and fuel at the same time.
Oh,
So he would
man.
dump the nitrous because nitrous was under pressure, and the fuel wouldn't feed in fast enough to compensate.
damn.
So he ended up just like a waste. Like he had this $1,000 intake manifold.
That's why
That's why
the
that
problem
thing.
he was having.
Yeah.
because that thing, I always thought that thing should have been a lot faster than it was.
So he never ended up making a pass on nitrous. We tried to tune it a bunch of times, never ended up working out. A car made like 530 wheel without the nitrous.
yeah, no,
So-
I remember it being powerful.
With a good 100 shot, that car would have been faster than Hellcats, stock Hellcats.
yeah,
It just never worked out. And I remember I was with him when he got to borrow my friend Danny's Hellcat, Charger Hellcat. 285 upper pulley only, no E85, nothing special.
Right.
And we were both riding in it, and we thought it was the fastest thing in the world. It was the fastest car.
Feels that way.
We immediately decided, that was the day we decided
we
we're
need
getting
Hellcats.
Yeah.
I still had my Q50. I'd had it for maybe like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we both decided we're getting Hellcats.
Oh yeah.
So Danny's actually my boss. So I don't know if a lot of people, they see us working together, but he owns the company. So he goes and gets one, I think July 3rd or 4th. And I go like the 5th or the 6th.
Right.
He actually gave me half a day paid off to go get this Hellcat.
Damn.
Get out of here.
That's hell of a boss right there, by the way, folks.
Ugh, but I don't even know why he co-signed it, because back then I had just started with him. I was making $100 a day. So I had money put away from my previous job. I'm not that irresponsible, but it was still really stupid to go buy a $73,000 car
on a $100 a day salary
when my salary is $100 a day.
My guy.
Now, granted, on the paperwork, I made 80.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
Danny, when they called Danny, he confirmed. Yeah, no, he makes 80. He runs the whole show. So they approved me for this thing, and I have this 707 horsepower muscle car. I've always had imports, blah blah. So I got in that thing, and it was like, it was so dangerous. It was the scariest car. I can't turn traction control off. I'll die. I went to a muffler shop the second I bought it and cut the mid mufflers off. And within like a week, I was like, this shit's slow. It sucks. It's so goddamn heavy. And there's the psychopathy just started from there.
Yeah. Actually, somebody recently told me that they need me to buy a Challenger Hellcat. That's what somebody told me. Not today, yesterday. They were like, I need you to buy one. Like, you should be in one. And I was like, I don't know if I want to.
They're really not, like, the incentives, you can get one for, what's crazy is, it's not that it's a cheap payment. It's cheap for a car that is a 70,000, depending on, they've gone down now.
Yeah.
But like, for example, mine sticker price was $73,000. So the same priced M3 I looked at was $400 or $500 more a month.
Jesus.
For the same MSRP. So it really comes down to incentives.
Yeah.
And, even M3s and stuff, they can be very fast, but to get an M3 to the power I'm at, you need to swap out those turbos, and now you're really pushing this inline six, to its limit. I don't know any M3 with upgraded turbos that isn't constantly braking.
Right.
Yes, that's you, Johnny.
Ooh.
Yeah, he knows.
Damn.
Savage.
Yeah, sorry, he's fast and all, but will it make it through the race? Is up to him.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. What are the future plans? Well, what have you done to this Hellcat now? And then what do you plan on doing to it?
All right. So I actually, I have catless mids. I just received, I think yesterday or the day before, my AWE full exhaust that they actually just developed it at one of a few cars that has it on there. I should be able to have it on maybe by the end of the week. It's the touring version. Danny actually went with the full race version.
Of course.
I'd like my neighbors to not burn my house down. So I'd like to put at least a muffler on there. I've got upper only, 265 upper, no lower. The crank is pinned, obviously. I mean, if you haven't pinned your crank and you're making that much power, I suggest you do it. Fully 85. There's no blend, no flex fuel. I can only put E85 in the car. Intake. What else is in there? Heat exchanger.
So you've done a lot.
Quite a little bit. I mean, realistically, I probably only spent, I don't know, $10,000 tops. Which, and look, it's not a little bit of money, but it's also not that crazy. I make 850 wheel horsepower and like 713 wheel torque, something like that.
Yeah, you're there.
So, I mean, the car is making, I've run 9s, spending 10 grand. You want to make the same power out of an M series, you're going to spend $30, $40, $50,000.
Yeah. That's not bad. What do you plan on doing to it? Any craziness? So
at this point, my goal is maybe I might wide body it. I'm not trying to go too crazy with power because I can already see myself getting bored. And I want to, if nothing new crazy comes out, I want a red eye.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because the red eye, at the same mods I have, a red eye would be over 1,000.
Yeah.
And safe.
Yeah, I watched a video actually the other day. Oh, today?
Man, you got to get your days right,
my
bro.
days are just blended together.
You watched it. We don't care what day you
I'm an old man. It's just starting to blend together.
If you're not sure, just leave that part out.
Yeah, just say I watched the video. Who cares?
Yeah, how are we gonna know? We ain't gonna call you out on it.
You both can eat a and I watched the video. You happy? I watched the video
at some point,
and the dude was wearing he had a.
When did you watch the video? I couldn't resist.
You're a jack off. He had the red eye, and he was at 1,000 horsepower, and he's like doing poles and like 105. The tires are just breaking loose. Mm-hmm. And I was like, at that point, dude, like,
well, he just needs some tire. Also, if he's still running like the stock Pirellis,
that's what
are good for nothing. They were useless stock.
I don't understand why they did that. I don't know if it was like
I feel like it's similar to the reason the FRSs have a little tiny tire. It's to give you that excitement of like, oh, it's crazy, it's losing control. Whereas no car with 700 horsepower should have a 275.
You sure it's not just because Pirelli said, "Hey, I'll give you this if you put."
But why 275? They can I fit a 315 on my stock rim. When it doesn't even look bubbled out or nothing. So a 275 is like it's like a camber car. You're stretching that thing.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with the it breaks loose, but In my opinion, I'd have been like, listen, go ahead and keep those tires.
Only if I get my money back.
Put some good years on it, and then I'll buy the car.
Well, even so,
and then just go swap them later.
Because of the
Save yourself
ridiculous
a couple
torque
$100.
just driving around. I run Arturo, which are like Chinese tires. But from a 60, which is most of the street racing I do, they hook just fine. And they cost me like $128 a tire. And if you watch my Instagram, you know they held strong at 202 miles an hour. And those are Chinese. They're Z-rated.
You took Chinese tires to 200 miles an hour?
Mm-hmm. More than once.
Lewis.
I've recorded all of them one-handed.
Lewis.
Don't you follow me?
I do.
Oh my
I do.
goodness.
I've seen them. I didn't know they were on Chinese tires, Lewis.
Chinese joints. I mean, for the radios, I run Mickey Thompson. I'm not, I'm not against, quality tires, but I can't afford, an R888 or an NT05. It's $300 a tire.
Well, you're always lighting them up in front of the shop.
Exactly.
This guy.
The marks are still there.
Dude, you're out of control. Out of control.
I'm trying. Look, I promised my girl and, my daughter that I wasn't going to go 200 miles an hour anymore. Look, I'll still hit it real quick to 180 because I'll do 180 pretty quickly.
Dude, 180.
It's holding it for a long time. That's like you're really pushing the engine. You're pushing your tires. You're waiting for any little thing to happen.
Does it start to sway?
No. That car weighs 4,400 pounds. It doesn't go anywhere.
Straight at that speed.
It's been my favorite car to whip around, like the Genesis. I used to drift, like everybody who thinks they're the badass with their first rear-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
And if it broke loose, you needed to know what you were doing, or you were going to lose it. Mm-hmm. The Hellcat, as long as your tires are pointed in the direction you want to go, when you let off the gas, that's the direction it's going. That's it. It corrects itself.
That was
Funny.
awesome.
He heard the story.
It was a great story.
It was a great laugh.
But you can really record that, use that as like a sit-in, like a little. That's sounds like a good plan.
I just, I get bored of cars. I mean, like I said, the truck I had for like a year and a half.
You've had this one for a while, though.
I think about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely love the car. So I just told you I still have the Infinity on the trailer to go back to get traded back into an Infinity.
Right.
And
you're gonna use
since I bought the Hellcat, I have not driven the Infinity one time.
Damn. Are you going to use the money from the Infinity to finish the Civic? Oh, yeah. You leased
Bye,
it.
Felicia.
What are we doing with that Civic?
So the Civic has really just been neglected because, one, it sits in a barn in my dad's house because I can't fit it in my garage. So it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the Hellcat's kind of been the project.
Yeah.
So I did, right when I got the Hellcat, I told you I was transitioning work. I was making $100 a day, so I couldn't buy anything. I barely buy cereal. Now that I make enough, the Hellcat was sort of the priority. So it's just making the conscious decision to go build that Civic. So the Civic, everything's built, Manley rods, CP pistons, dart and sleeve, Super Tech head, everything. Valves, seats, springs, everything in that head is completely built. Comtech head gasket, ARP head studs, Treadstone 4-inch intercooler, Precision 6766 turbo.
Damn.
Sidewinder, custom built by Tony, also at TR3.
Bro, finish it.
Sidewinder manifold, dual tile 40 millimeter wastegates, 2 460 LPH Walboro.
So you've changed everything at this point.
Everything. Stainless steel brake lines, return fuel system, K-tuned fuel pressure regulator, AJP fuel rail, blocks full drag suspension, 13x10 beadlock wheels in the front.
And this guy says that his memory's bad.
The parts on the Civic, I remember every single one of them. I used to sit in the garage in my old house when it fit, peeling off what's that tar shit that's under the seats, the sound deadener, with dry ice and a grinding wheel.
Damn.
I pulled the dash out. There's no heater core. There's no AC unit. The doors are gutted. There's no windows in it. It has all Lexon. The car has whole Swiss cheese drilled all over, 8-point roll cage. I mean, the car is built for 1,000. I'll probably stop around 800 or so. But where's the fun in that? I'm used to driving a Hellcat now where I can launch and do a 1.4 60 foot. That Civic's going to get like a 3.0 60 foot.
You just got chasing down on the back end.
It's got to be like a street car, which honestly, as I get older, I'm trying to avoid, street racing as much. Exactly. Like I'm never going to stop. I'm irresponsible. I'm sorry. But It's just, it's crazy. The Civic is good for nothing but the street.
Yeah.
So I thought about maybe getting a smaller turbo and making it more of like a reasonable car to drive. It's got a stage 5 4-puck unsprung clutch. Could you imagine trying to drive that down the road? It's in or out. There's no finessing the clutch in there.
Your left quad would be massive.
Massive. I don't even do legs. They'll probably crumble under the weight of the clutch. Pop back out, snap a femur. It's not safe.
Do you feel any pressure from social media to keep with the Hellcat and focus on the Hellcat?
Yeah, you got big now. That's a good question.
It did. The Hellcat, the page in the year and a half,
exploded.
I'm at almost 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it would work out perfectly if I bought the red eye because the people would love it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think either way, I'll be okay because I've, like anything, as you get accustomed to finer things, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to buy a slower car. It's going to be a Porsche Turbo or an E63.
And then usually people are on the bandwagon.
And people are going to love that too.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I might lose the Mopar enthusiast, but I'm no Mopar, advocate. I love my Mopar. It's a great car, but I also love Porsche Turbos and I love Mercedes and I love M's. I mean,
you like cars. You're a car
I'm
guy.
a car person, not a Mopar junkie.
Right. I feel you.
But I do worry about that. I do feel pressure, honestly, to do crazy shit.
Yeah,
that's
that's what I was just about to ask.
That's got to be
because that video. I want to know what happened in that video
recipe.
when you took it off and like hit the grass and like almost caught that truck.
Oh, that's right outside of the office.
Yeah,
the fucking our neighbor.
What was that?
So I was going to do. So I forgot what I was trying to show Danny. How the tires break loose or something. And I did a rolling burnout. So if you watch the video, it looks like I just hit it for a second, but I hit it from 0 miles an hour and just held it the whole way through. So the car's slowly building speed. So I got to, I think, 45, 50 miles an hour, still doing a rolling burnout. And the car's just slowly creeping off track. So eventually it starts veering towards that container truck that I went towards. And I know the Hellcat. I've been whipping it like a psychopath for a while.
Yeah.
So as long as I let off and point the direction I want to go,
it'll catch.
So I let that happen. And then I hit the brakes because if you try to hit the brake while you're sliding, you're just going to slide more.
Right?
Yeah. So I let off. If you watch the video carefully, you'll see that I let off. It corrects itself. Then I brake so I don't plow into this truck trying to take a turn in a 4,000-pound tank and then just go around it. But I was just doing dumb shit. Same story. I had already in the car. I had accepted I was hitting that truck.
Bad recipe, right? Person that is already inclined to do crazy shit then has pressure from social media to do crazy shit. Bad recipe.
It's y'all's fault. That video going 202 I posted got me over 1,000 followers. Jeez. Every time I post it. If I post this, I've done it twice, and I've posted each one probably twice. And every time I post it gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Damn.
And I get like 1,000 followers.
That's so crazy.
Nobody cares when I run a 9. They're like, oh, congratulations.
See, that's what shocks me. I'm like, yeah, you did 200 miles an hour. That's cool. Well, how fast your car run from a dig? 9? That's pretty impressive in a 4,500 pound.
But only car people know that. People that don't know cars just know that this car has run an 8. So now they just think, okay, 8s are normal. Like, yeah, no, it's not. A Mustang 5.0 to run an 8 has $20,000, $30,000 into it and a good driver. But all they know is the greatest of the greatest. You know, they don't know what it takes to run a 9.
The track has ruined me, bro. Because I see cars now that run like 10s and they're like, yo, it's so fast. You get it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like talking smack about it at like work or something like that. And I'm like, that's not fast. I've seen cars run 6s and 7s. I watch grudge cars. I don't even know what they run, but I guarantee you some of them are in 6s.
Yeah.
And
they run no time.
Yeah, they run no time, so I don't know what they run.
But you can tell.
But
you go to the track enough, you can tell.
I've been at the track enough, and I also stand behind the line. So now for the photography stuff, so it's gotten to the point now where I can almost tell how fast the car is going to go by how fast they disappear.
Yeah, I can tell within the first 300 feet.
Oh yeah,
what the car is capable of running in the full, because that's where it all happens.
You watch these like videos on I watch videos on YouTube, like the kid with that red eye, and he's like, oh, 1,000 horsepower. So he also had a Mustang. I'm pretty sure he was just a second generation rich kid because he also had a 5.0 Mustang that was worked, and then he had a red eye Hellcat that was worked. And I'm like, I don't understand how this kid's got all these cars. And I know he had a daily driver too. So it's just confusing. But I watched that video and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's 1,000 horsepower. Can you drive it? Like, have you raced it? Can you pin a tree?
Some people that don't know
what's your 60 foot
are talking about crank horsepower.
Yeah.
So some people get confused when I tell them that I make 850 horsepower. Like I said, it comes with 707. I was like, no, it dynoed at 600 barely when I bought it.
Yeah.
So really,
that's
250 over.
Right. A lot of people don't know that either. Yeah, it's seven at the crank.
707
but
crank.
At the wheel, it's not that.
Yeah, I dynoed on mine. So you keeping, I don't really give a shit about dyno numbers. The point is of a dyno is to keep the same dyno every time so you can see the growth. If I go to your dyno and then go to your dyno on the same day with the same car, I'm gonna have different numbers.
Right.
So if I go stock to you and build to you, I can't really tell what the gain was. So my car dynoed 598 bone stock at the dyno at Hydra. And then with all the mods I have now, I dynoed 853. Damn. So I gained 255, 56 horsepower.
That's a hell of a lot of horsepower.
On a pulley, on an upper pulley only. The other stuff is supporting, the heat exchanger isn't
really
gaining power.
No, just the pulley is what's gaining.
The pulley and the catless mids are really the big gains. Or not the only things that are gaining me horsepower.
Bro,
that's crazy.
I think that's good for an introduction. I think that was a hell of an introduction. I think we definitely have to have you back.
No, of course.
So we're getting with Killcat or Danny this week, and then after we've done his and we've edited them and put them both out, we're gonna bring you both back. We'll have you both at the same time.
I have to say one thing: a lot of the parts on my car are hand-me-downs from Killcat. Just want to
get that out there.
He's
now.
my biggest sponsor and my boss and my bestie. Not as good of a driver as I am, as you'll see. I mean, I've posted many videos of his car with hundreds of more horsepower than me getting walked because he can't drive for shit. So I just want to say that. But also, I love you.
Oh my god!
Please write my check this week.
Shot
there
fired.
it is, man.
All right, yo, we
I've been
appreciate
waiting
you.
for it.
Oh yeah, it was coming. You know you couldn't get off this.
I know I had to.
Because you know what's going to
Because
happen.
he's going to come in next week and then he'd be like, that guy Lewis, he eats Home Depot hot dogs all day.
It's exactly
he
what he's going to do.
sleeps till 12. I don't even know why I pay him.
Yep. That's exactly what he's going to say.
So he literally offers, I get commissions at work also. And he'll literally offer to give me more money worth of parts if I take my commission and put them in parts instead of cash. So now I'm like, I'm like, yo, I could pay that bill I needed, or I can get a blower for way cheaper because he's giving me this part. He's really condoning the irresponsibility.
The shenanigans. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us for the last. How long have we been going? An hour?
53.
Almost an hour.
That's not bad. We appreciate you guys joining us. I'm Jared. That is Brett. This is Lewis. Check out beardedgaragistas.com. Lewis.
That's really my name.
beardedgaragistas.com. And we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.